Hello folks, how are you doing and welcome to my channel. Today's video we're going to be doing a deep dive into a group of very important women today. So I'm going to be talking about the age range 40 to 49, 50. Okay, so according to Google, those women that fall between the ages of 49 to 50 are millennials, which were born 81 to 96, I'm a millennial, and Gen X, which was 1965 to 1980, and that's 44-year-old to 59. So we're going to be sticking to the 40 to 50. But you can watch this whatever age you're at, whether you're older, whether you're younger, whether you're just about to hit your 40s, because over the past couple of years, I myself have been on a huge journey after hitting 40, and I know many clients have, and I know many people in the comments have, I know the collective has, society has, and I think what's happening now with women of a certain age is hugely important. So it's chat, teaching, guidance, card pulling, and a place where you can come and make sense of why you're feeling what you're feeling at this time. It's also the result of some work that I've been doing on my other YouTube channel, which is called CT's Royal Tarot, where we do royal readings, but we also do royal videos where we're looking at what they're reflecting back to us at our stages of life, etc., and how it impacts our stuff, to try and make it relatable. And we've been doing a lot of work lately, obviously, on Princess Catherine and all that's come up with that, and also again recently Lady Gabriella Windsor. What's her surname? God, anyway, it doesn't matter. Kingston. Who again, she was 42. Catherine's 42. Are facing a huge dark night of the soul. So let's get going. I was tuning into this morning's video, and one of the things I got was that the women that are going through their 40s right now are going through it in a way that's never been done before. And for although there's going to be similarities between the generations that have gone before, we are going through it in a different way than never before. We're coming to an age where, in our 40s, where how am I going to put this, comparing it to other generations? So there's perimenopause, which is the start of menopause, and for some there's also menopause within this 10 years. That's a huge cycle. And we're a generation of women that grew up with the Spice Girls, scary, posh, ginger, baby, grew up with Bridget Jones and what Bridget Jones amounted to. We were the first generation of women, young women, to start using technology, mobile phones, online dating. We grew up in a big drinking culture in the 90s and the early noughties. Another icon can be Britney Spears. And many of those women that we had put on the pedestal or looked up to are now going through their own dark night of the soul. Think Jerry Halliwell with what's coming up with her husband Christian Horner, and obviously Britney Spears and Catherine of Aragon then. I know, Catherine Princess of Wales, who was also Catherine of Aragon, Polymacharia. We're the first group of women that are having to go through something. I mean, even the perimenopause and the menopause, back in previous generations, women had jobs, obviously, but you didn't have as many women in important high-powered jobs, or owned and ran businesses or headed up businesses. And we're now having to find ways to work through that. I am not, by the way, of the band of people at the minute that are trying to make menopause into an illness. It is not an illness. It is a phase of life. But life has changed for women. If you're also a mother, you're also going to be you've experienced being a mother, going through a pandemic, which many of our ancestors didn't. I know ancient ancestors did with the plagues, but a pandemic that came from nowhere that brought up huge amounts of stuff within the collective. You're being a parent in a time of the dangling of World War III over everybody's head, or you may even be in a country where there is war. You're being a mother in a time of economic uncertainty. You're being a parent in a time of online craziness, trolling, bullying, chaos. You're being a parent at a time when many children are questioning sexuality, etc., and then trying to find out who they are, and you're having to work your way through that. You're being a parent in a time when the education system is breaking and crumbling, and what used to work before, is no longer working for many people. And we know that many of the structures are now starting to collapse because they have to rebuild themselves. We know humanity is also collapsing because it has to rebuild itself. But that collapsing can be really, really uncomfortable. We know that women are collapsing in order to rebuild themselves. We know that men are collapsing in order to rebuild themselves. And children, all of it, the young, the old, the elder, whatever, in order to rebuild. So looking at our 40s, it's almost like a baptism of fire. And many women are really going into dark night of the soul in their 40s. In a way, I really genuinely feel that probably hasn't happened before in the way it's happening now. There's something I'm starting to tune into. And a generation of women that are also in amongst all of that, we're starting to learn about well-being and healing and the bigger picture. We're being told to slow down but speed up. You may also be balancing having children with previous partners that maybe were abusive. So there's a real baptism of fire going on at this time with women that are in their 40s. But ultimately, what it is also allowing us to do is really rebirth. Because what I was shown this morning was this decade, and it possibly always has been like this, is a really important decade where I'm being shown actually it hasn't been like this. That because frequencies are changing as we go and as the years go on, in your 40s we're actually being shown now what needs to be lifted. Because when we step into our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we have to be very different, and no judgment to the women that are there now, to those women that went before, because the young are going to need the guidance, and they're going to need steerage, they're going to need gatekeepers that are much more balanced and compassionate. And as the world is healing, as the world is clearing, the divine feminine is and the divine masculine, we hold both within us, whether we're man or woman. There are many warning bells that I'm being shown, many warning bells of the need to slow down. There is also heavy addictions within this category of women that I'm talking about. Been there, done that myself. It may be alcohol, it may be drugs, it may be prescription drugs, it may be food, it may be sugar, it may be fat, it may be TV, it may be social media. In order to switch off and not look at getting older, even though 40 is not really it's getting older, you're getting older. We've also got to look at the whole social media thing where everything is airbrushed to look perfect. And we grew up in that. That really started, I think, in the 90s when we started getting the internet, and before that pictures were pictures. And you look at Marilyn Monroe, for example. You look at Princess Diana as well, for example. She was another one. Jackie Kennedy. When you saw a picture of Jackie Kennedy, it was a picture of Jackie Kennedy. When you saw a picture of Marilyn Monroe, you could see she was a size 14, 16 actress, woman. And the same with Diana, you could just see, you know, whereas now you're looking at a picture of a female and there's a big strong possibility it's going to have been airbrushed within an inch of its life. We're going onto Instagram and you're seeing people airbrushing their family pictures. Don't go down that route, Claire. I'm only joking. Actually, no, I'm going to bring it in. The famous family picture that's been put out this past week that has been flagged. Now, there's two ways there's a lot of ways you can look at that. You can say, leave Catherine alone, which I agree with. She's not well. She's had a breakdown. But you can also say, wait a minute, actually. This is a liberating moment for us as women, because what it's showing us is you don't need to put the perfect family picture out. It's okay to have a picture out there where your child looks moody. I remember some old family pictures we've got when we were kids, and my brother went through a stage, as many children do, having a face on. When there was a family picture on, like that, honestly, there's a picture of us, I shit you not, where me and my two brothers are stood next to the old lake in Althorpe, Dinah's grave, and my brother looks like he's going to nut someone. Hands in his pockets, and actually looking back on that, you laugh. He's very different now. But actually he was allowed that moment. My mum didn't get that picture and go, oh God, he's doing it. Just a minute. He's smiling. Look at me and my fake family. Look at me and my happy children. Look at me and my handsome husband. Look at me around the lake. Oh my God. Why I'm always careful I don't filter any pictures I do. I'm always careful at the amount of editing that does go on videos, because you've got to be careful about that. Because we're being edited too much. We're editing our own lives too much. We're papering over the cracks. And to be surrounded by that as a woman in your 40s, when maybe you're going grey a lot quicker. That's one reason why I'm stopping down my hair as well. I'm sick of chasing the grey. I started going grey at 16 when a friend of mine got murdered. I couldn't stop the grey. I've dyed my hair since the age of 16 and I'm sick of chasing it. And we're sick of chasing the perfection. We're sick of chasing the perfection. You know, the models, the actresses, the influential women, the famous women that we've been idolising are actually fakes. They're fakes. They're not fake women, but what's been put to you is fake. Look at Britney Spears. She was incredibly slim, great dancer, great physique in her peak. It was fake, because behind closed doors there was something really dark and sinister. It was the same with Princess Diana. It was fake. Not Diana, not Britney was fake, but what you were shown was fake. Same with Catherine, Princess of Wales. You were shown a strong, dependable, slim, athletic mother that was going to do charity work, and now you're being shown the truth, that this was a woman that had huge flaws and that has been battling huge demons. So does that not release you from that narrative that you have to have the perfect family, that you have to have the perfect figure, that you can take time out for yourself, and I think we're going to be real trailblazers for that. And I think that's why going through this decade that we're going through is going to be really, really, really important. We're also a decade of women that have faced infertility, although I don't like to call it that, but I'm going to call it that, because otherwise if I call it anything else, people are like, what's she on about? And even then society says, yes, but you don't have to be infertile. You can go to the hospital and we'll help you. So again, that puts pressure. And then what does the woman do? She goes into that, and that can be devastating. And then in some cases, she has the child, and then she hits a point in her life where she thinks, actually, this is really hard. This is really difficult, because I may be in a marriage that you feel trapped in, or maybe you've fallen out of love with someone, or maybe you've realised you need to spend some time on yourself, developing yourself, refinding yourself, rebirthing yourself. But then there's this little one or this teenager that needs you, and having to work through that, and find a way through that. To find your way through that. I'm sorry, I've just been drawn to this box. And it's a mermaid, and she's obviously under the sea, and she can see the light, the sun. And she's putting her hand up to come out, and that's what I'm feeling we are doing right now. We've been placed under the sea as mermaids, and all that seaweed and history of the ocean has been placed on us, generational stuff. And now we're starting to see that flicker of light that's shining above the ocean. And very slowly we're starting to swim towards it. So that when we do go into our elder years, we're in a much more better place. You know, when I started to go through an early perimenopause, and I tuned into my guides and I said, what can I do to help myself go through this? One of the things he said was, we wait until we're there before we start looking after ourselves. Shit, perimenopause, I need to start doing certain things, taking certain vitamins, doing whatever. Shit, I'm elderly, I need to start doing certain things, eating a certain way. When in actual fact, we need to be doing it early doors. Because there's no point waiting until you're there. Because when you're there, it's not as though it's too late, but it can be too much. It can be so overwhelming when you're there. And so now is the time when we're going through this very important decade to actually start to think about, right, okay, I'm going into my wisdom years. I'm going to embrace that. I'm going to embrace me, my imperfections, my stories, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to take the pressure on myself. I don't need this sterile, clean, super duper clean house. I don't need the sterile children. I don't need the sterile partner. I don't need the sterile life. I can be imperfect. I can look in the mirror and see lines, because those lines represent all my stories. I don't want to pull them out or inject them and have them flat. I want to see them. I don't want to dye my grey hair, because actually that represents my wisdom. It represents my story, that I actually maybe went through something really challenging, but that was my journey through it. That's my stamp. I don't want to filter my pictures, because I don't want the world to see me in any other light than true and authentic. I don't want anyone to look at my Instagram and think, wow, if only. I want to rebirth myself. I don't want to mourn children that I've not given birth to. I want to rebirth myself. I want to be able to look at my marriage and make it the best that I can with what I've got. Not compare it to Susan next door, or your sister or your sister-in-law. Or actually, can I make this the best that I can? No, I can. And let that go as well if you need to. To stop trying to trace what you've lost. Your youth, your sexuality, your bounce. To birth something else. I used to be like bouncy when I was in my 20s. I was always out being bouncy. I was. Ridiculous. But I'm going to be slower. And I'm going to be more mindful. I don't need to be the life and soul of the party anymore. The wee! It used to be like that as well. I used to be terrible for that. I can be the one that sits at the back of the room but sees it all. I don't need to be worried if I'm stood in the playground and all the other mums are like, oh, which I know happens. Because actually I don't want to be part of that group. I want to be me. Because your child chose you for a reason. He or she did not choose somebody else. They chose you for a reason, because they needed you to be a mother, the mother that they needed. So, not being in fear what parents are thinking. That came up in the video I've just done on CT's Royal Tarot, where we looked at Carol Middleton and Princess Michael of Kent and how they were mothers. And I've not been worried what the mother-in-law thinks. Maybe the reason why you've been given a tricky mother, or what you perceive as a tricky mother, or a tricky mother-in-law, or a tricky sister, or a tricky whatever, is for you to go, I know who I am. Because when someone comes in to try and destroy your integrity, that's when you've got to rise. Because if you go, oh, and go into that, because don't forget everything is also projection. There's heaps of projection going on at the minute. People trying to take each other down and taking great delight in it. It's about rising. It's about being the mermaid under the sea and being able to rise up. You know, going through our 40s now, we have books, we have videos, we have services and therapies that we have never had before, or to the extent that we've got now. We've got people talking about things. Menopause, perimenopause. I know some of that can be controversial. It's not as empowering as it's made to look, but we've still got it. It's still there if you need it. We're also starting to come back to the community of women when women would actually work together and not against each other. It may not seem like it in some places, but it's happening because everything we're going through as women, the issues with friends, the issues with girls at work, the issue with your female neighbour, the issue with, it's all actually showing us the importance of community and coming back to each other, not dragging, and that's the global stuff that's going on that's going to be involving women in different ways, shapes and forms, that we've got to stop this beating down of each other because, and it's also tying into some of the witch stuff that we're doing, the witch woman, the wise woman stuff. We named them the witches, but really they were wise women. There were witches that like to do black magic and stuff and etc. But actually, predominantly those women that got persecuted were probably not those type of women. They were predominantly wise women that could not be bullshitted by society. They were healers, good healers. They were good seers that were a threat to society as it was at the time. And it's all coming back round full circle, which is why you're seeing the taking down, or what we perceive as a taking down of the woman. Nobody can take you down without your permission. Nobody can take you down without your permission. So, let's pull some cards. In front of me I've got the Mystical Shaman Oracle by Alberto, Villoldo, Colette and Reid and Marcela, Lobos. I've got the Lemurian Starchild Oracle by Leanne, Carpenter and Michiel, Kroon. And I've got the Oceanic Tarot by Jayne, Wallace. All beautiful decks. So we're going to connect into the energy of the female in her 40s at this time. I'm hearing the roaring 40s. I know they said the roaring 20s. And when I got up, I was like, roaring 40s. And what I got was, you know Katy Perry's song? I'm going to roar that song. Roar. Being raw, allowing yourself to be raw and vulnerable. I can't play it for you, otherwise I would, because it's copyright. A vision. We're going to be playing a huge part in the future. Future of mankind, 10 of Wands, responsibility. Wow, I wasn't, you know, when you're a tarot, you have an idea of what you may be expecting as cards coming through. But look at that compared to what you may be feeling as a woman at this time. That actually, you have a huge part to play. I mean, many of you that have children right now, your children will be children, either little children or babies. But the vast majority of you will be having children that are teenagers and maybe children going into their 20s. Would you have children in your 30s or not? Probably in some cases. It's part of the future. So you'll be parents to Gen X. Yeah, Gen X in some cases. There's that many I lose track. The Two of Wands, the vision. Standing tall. Wands is fire energy, it's transformation, it's transmutation, it's going forward. It's taking life seriously, but not from a really serious doom and gloom point, but taking you serious. Because what I'm also feeling is many women in their 40s are not taking themselves serious because of programming, because of people they've come into contact with that may have been abusive. They've lost their internal lighthouse, their internal sat-nav. So they're not taking things seriously. They're not taking themselves seriously, which is why they're medicating with things that maybe don't serve their highest of good. They've lost their vision. So getting back your vision for life. Justice and balance. We are meant to be roaring. We're meant to be queens of our world. Having each other's backs as well. Because I think the noughties and, you know, was it the tens? I don't know. I was naughty what they call things these days, but they were interesting times. You know, we got Bridget Jones rammed down our throat, and guess what? She's coming back. Well, she's coming back now, and apparently, from what I've read, Mark Darcy's died and she's got a toy boy. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, no. No, we don't need that. Bridget Jones is fine if you want to go read the series, it's fine. But actually, do we need it ramming down our throats that the dream, even that, the fairy tale has died, the handsome rich lawyer that was a little bit older than you, that came from a stable family that was richer than yours, he's died. And now look at you, Bridget, you're getting old. Just to feel into this, you're getting older now. So you're going to need a young man to make you feel better. No, you don't. No, you don't. Contemplation, the hermit, a time of deep, deep contemplation. So you're probably going to hear of more women becoming ill, a bit like Catherine, where they have a breakdown, crisis point, overwhelm, depression, anxiety, in order to go into the hermit. There's also, as well, I'm feeling to many women that have started to overcompensate with their children to make up for whatever they feel they need to make up for. And it's causing a burnout and an exhaustion. And in some cases, it feels that some of these women are actually feeling bullied by the people that they live with. Husband, partner, wife, girlfriend, their own children. And it's almost like I'm seeing, and these are listening a lot, but if it is where it's almost like they're feeling alone in the house, that the family's flipped on them. And it's a time of really deep contemplation to go into the mysterious depths of our consciousness. A possibility, 7 of Cups, wishes. We've lost our dream, we've lost our focus. Many women at this age are starting to think about maybe going back into full-time work. Are you going back into full-time work just to pay for the wedding that may come for your child or the university place? Or are you going back into full-time work, into a job that you can't wait to get into? There's also going to be more women wanting to go into different types of work, retraining, because it's such a biblical thing we're going through, that what you used to want to do in your 20s and 30s, you don't want to do it anymore. And this can be big changes that are continuous. Really looking at what can I do in my life to make it easier. Not easier as in bypassing getting out a free gel card. That's not going to work. But what can I do in my life that actually gives me the space to make it easier? Where can I pull back that 5 minutes of a day? I am actually astounded when I hear that people don't actually settle down all day, that they can be active right up until bedtime and then not be able to sleep, that they don't even get a minute to sit and have a coffee, or just to read a book, or to do something, a podcast that's soothing. The sun, happiness. You know, in your 40s, depending on where you're at, you know, most of your children may be getting older and starting to give you more time. I was speaking to someone recently and they said, oh, my children are getting older, but I'm freaking out, I don't like it. Why don't you like it? Because I've got time on my hands, Claire, I don't want time on my hands. And I was like, holy cow. Whoa. Whoa. It wasn't a client, by the way. And I was like, whoa. In my head, obviously. I don't want my children to have this independence because then I've got to sit with me. And I was like, whoa. So you could be a parent watching this and you're feeling like that, the brewing of the empty nest syndrome's coming up. And that's another great way to start thinking about you, because that empty nest is starting to come. Do you want to be the woman then that is so desperate for grandchildren? Because there's that as well. I used to have a friend like that, bless her, that was desperate to be a grandmother, and guess what? She became a grandmother, and guess what happened? She passed. Because she got caught up in her trauma wheel. She was desperate to be a grandmother. I just want to be a grandmother. I just want to be a grandmother. Because there was something in her that needed to be filled. Whether it was a child or a grandchild. Thinking about what's going to light you up going forward. You may be a woman that's not had children. Brilliant. Brilliant if you have. Brilliant if you haven't. So you've got all this time to invest in yourself. You can travel to where you want. You can eat what you want. You can go to where you want. When I realised we weren't going to be having children, I must say I'd hit a low. And I was like, actually, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this woman where people daren't even tell you they're pregnant. I hate that. Can't tell Claire we're pregnant because she'll have a meltdown. Because people do that. I don't want to be that person that nobody can have a celebration with. So what do you use? What do you do instead? I'm going to use this time to birth different things. Rebirth yourself. Taking advantage of all this time you've got that's yours. Or you and your partners. I'm a great believer in choice. There's always a choice, and sometimes we don't want to see that choice, and we can prefer to believe that choice isn't there, because actually there's comfort sometimes in trauma. The sun, we've already had that. It's even that. It's the one card that I put back in the deck. I don't want that. I don't want happiness. Why not? Take it out and lay it down. The vortex temptation. So there's also many women at this time that are tempted. It may be tempted to have affairs, tempted to go a bit erratic, tempted, they've got into a vortex of work, not being able to rest, not being able to relax, not being able to sit with themselves, maybe having affairs, maybe thinking about affairs, maybe thinking about past people that they were with. There's a real vortex energy. Where they're coming away from themselves, coming away from the people that actually do matter. They've been caught up in a vortex of pain, vortex of drama, a vortex of misinformation from society. Women in their 40s. What's the biggest challenge? One card, two cards. What's the biggest challenge? Women in their 40s. What's the biggest challenge? Give away. They're giving away too much of themselves. Flow. We're not going with the flow. Luminous warrior. They're strong, but they're luminous. They're not seen. We don't see ourselves. Look at that. The giveaway. What's the strength? What's the strength? Stand still. The hummingbird at the bottom. The magic. The strength is that we, as women in our 40s, can stand still. We can be magical. We can bring magic back into our lives. Time is still on your side. We can weave another life. But the longer that it's left, the harder it becomes. The hummingbird, flying free, flying forward, being lighter. To stop being so hard on ourselves, beating ourselves up over stuff that we actually can't control. 33 is also the Christ light within all of us. To pause, to slow it down. I know at the minute I keep thinking that time is flying so quickly, and I was like the other day, why is time flying so quickly? And the answer I got back was, because you need to slow down. It's at the clock at the minute, the energetic clock is going really quick, and in order to combat it, you have to slow down. The quicker you go with it, the faster the clock's going to go. So we're being forced to slow down and pause. We're washing up really quickly. We're doing the house really quickly because we've got something else to do. We're driving around the streets really quickly to drop the kids off. We're walking really quickly to pick the kids up from school. We're eating our meal really quickly before we need to do something else. We're ramming the washing in without thinking about cleansing all the energies. Just think about that. Even when you go on a night out, you're getting ready really quickly. Everything's really quickly. And actually just to slow down. I've noticed, because I've been looking at myself over this past couple of weeks, when I slow down, I'm actually getting more done than when I go on a mad run around this house. When I start rushing, I can drop things, I get accidental, I can't beat the clock seems to go faster. When I go, you know what, today, I'm just slowing it down. I get it done, and you know what happens? I've also got more time. Not allowing society to overwhelm us, because what I'm also hearing is way too many women have way too much on their plate. I'm being drawn to the education system at the minute, and apparently there's an issue with homework, where many of you may have children that don't want to do homework, or some of the homework they're needing help with, and there's that I'm being shown that. Why am I being shown that? That's interesting. That the education system is pushing a lot out to parents in order to teach children. Now, I do believe that parents play a big role in teaching children, but what I'm feeling is the amount of homework at the minute is obscene. My guide is also saying that the brain can also, a child's brain can only take so much. Even a teenager's brain can only take so much. And that's what's causing a crisis with many teenagers, and why many teenagers and little children are rebelling against school, and that's causing an issue in the home. So what can we do for mums that are going through that? I don't know whether this is a wise thing to do, but I did tell the last video I did on here, was it, or a couple of videos, I said my guide does have a sense of humour. He's saying I just put the book down. See, that's what the guides are like, you see. You see, I'm really tired today. Take some time off. They love that. They love that. Guides hate to see it when you're going miles an hour. They hate to see that. I just put the book down. Ooh, am I going into some rebellion energy here? He's showing me now, and I don't know whether this is happening, but groups of parents, mums mainly that I'm seeing, are starting to really rebel against the school system. Because what he's saying is they can only do it as long as you let them do it. As in the school. Ooh, interesting. Rebel. It's true though. It's even me talking about it, I feel like, am I really telling these people that are watching this video to do this? But I'm really getting it. I'm really feeling it. And I'm actually feeling that if I was a child now, if I was a teenager, not a teenager, if I was a parent of teenagers now, I think I'd be thinking long and hard about this and going, I'm going to go, you're not doing it. He's saying they're frying them, as in the children and teenagers, they're being fried. He's saying education should be fun and playful and interesting. He's showing me elders from way, way, way back, teachers that would, because children have always needed teaching and they'll always need teaching. I mean, God, us as adults need teaching, but the teaching that we've got at the minute, and I'm not knocking teachers here, I'm knocking the system, and the system is actually making teachers ill as well, because teachers can't teach like this. You know, teachers need proper breaks, so they're not getting proper breaks. Having to go home, I mean, I can't imagine finishing this job that I do on a day and then in a night going and sitting in that. I mean, sometimes I do some admin, looking at the video content, but it's light stuff. I'm not responsible for a child's grade. He's saying that a lot of people are going to be coming to crisis point because humans need to slow down. Humans need to slow down. And the only way to get them to stop is to crash and burn. Interesting. So you're also the warriors for that. Taking on the system. Go on. I like taking on systems. Done it in the past. Oh, I got such a slap wrist when I tried it. I'll do it again tomorrow though. I would do it again tomorrow, and I have actually done it. I had an issue a couple of years back with some tests, medical tests, that it was weird. There was a real mess up that could, if the test would have come back positive, could have resulted in a death for me. Thankfully they did, but anyway, and I went for the jugular because it was sick what happened. And I just went for it, complained, like you do. Yeah, because I'm not a big rebel and I don't go I'm not going everywhere and just being a whinge bag. Like some people can be whinge bags. But yeah, you know, if I had a child now and I thought they were getting stressed at school, see, that's probably why one of the reasons why I haven't, because I can go a bit nuclear. I can go a bit nuclear, especially over people that I love. I can go nuclear. I come from a very feisty masculine line and I can go quite nuclear. But thankfully I've learned how to channel nuclear into different avenues. So I get it, but that's interesting as well, because don't be part of the pushy problem. Where's your home at? Where's your home at? Where's your... Oh, I won't play that game. Don't play that game. So that's causing more. He's saying family life is not allowed. They're not allowed to have family life anymore. He's taking me back to older days. You could like, you know, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, ancient times where there was downtime as a family where they could cook a wholesome meal, and it was just the norm. It was the norm to have a meal on the table. It was the norm to be sat in front of the fire doing games, or you know, there's somebody I follow on Instagram, I can't remember what she's called, and she lives the 1940s life, and her whole house is like back in time, and she's got a good routine, and she's there, she's doing her crocheting, and she's got the knitting basket and the side of the hearth, and there's all that going on. It's like we used to live like that. If I'm saying normal times, we used to live like that. Having time to darn a sock. Imagine now if your child came to us and said, Mummy, darn me sock, you brat. Darn the sock, I'll rip it to shreds with my teeth. You know what I mean? Because you're that stressed out with it. So, the reason why we're getting so much overwhelm, if you're getting into overwhelm and exhaustion, depression and anxiety, it is the universe telling you to slow down. There's aspects in your life that need to be stopped. Slow down. take time out before you get to crisis point. Don't do a Catherine, Princess of Wales, and get to crisis point. Advice for parents. See how we just, these videos everywhere we go. When I said I went nuclear earlier with the NHS, I didn't go ballistic at anybody. I just went very high to complain, if that makes sense. You should have seen them trying to grovel to get out of it, like they do. Anyway, he said soonest mended about that establishment. Oh, defence, yeah, imagination. We have a whole host of children on our planet now that are very different, again like you're different, on this planet, and they're being suppressed. And they need parents to defend them. There's more rise in homeschooling. I know homeschooling can be a real contentious subject, but there is a rise in homeschooling because there's some nasty cases of bullying going on at the minute. Overwhelm. Classrooms are too big. I've been told as well that it's impossible to teach for one person to have that much influence in the classroom. Because what I'm being shown is the classroom, there's all different people there, different backgrounds, different cultures, different needs, different levels of understanding, different traumas, and it's too much for one person to be able to facilitate that to where, we're going into the education system to where, but many of you are in there, aren't you? That's why we're going into it. To be able to facilitate it to its best of its ability. And I'm being shown that there's children going under the radar, slipping through the net, because the system's just not built for them. The hanged man limbo. It's just become so... many of you are feeling tied up that you've got nothing, you can't say anything to the education system, that's what you think. Gratitude, it's costing a lot of money as well, is the education system. But being grateful for an education system, because there's some countries out there that don't have one. So I thought I'd lost time, I haven't. That's why I went like that at the camera. I thought my time had gone. Generosity. Competition with children that maybe have rich families that are coming in. I know, God, I think my nephew, or Gary's nephew on his side, going to New York. I'm like, you what? We went to Temple Newsom when we were at school. New York. How are parents going to afford that? Do you know what I mean? It's New York for a school trip. What? New beginning, the full, this is all part of the dismantling of the structures, the leaps of faith, the drama. There's a lot of drama around the education system. Guidance for parents going through it though, guidance for, yeah, then hope the new beginning, gratitude for that we do have an education system. We're at a crossroads and the temptation is the vortex. Many people are actually at a position where it's like, actually there's nothing I can do, because actually you get that in the age, to be quite honest, nothing I can do. It's because people like to think they're weak and vulnerable, because that's the get out of free jail card, because I can't do anything, little old me. But actually it's a vortex. And I'm getting as well, this may be a bitter pill to swallow, that some, you know, and I'll say parents, because it's not just about mums, are actually too caught up in their own stuff to see this going on. And maybe you're looking out of the vortex like, oh God, oh my God, I'm in it again. There's a lot. You're taking on too much. We're taking on too much as women, and women, especially when the hormones are changing, you can't do it. You have to slow down when hormones change. Because, I mean, what did I do the other day? I went to get a yoghurt for lunch. So you find all sorts. You find scissors in fridge in this house. I'm not joking. There's no milk. There'll be scissors in fridge. Anyway, I went to get a yoghurt, and I thought, oh, I've got a strawberry yoghurt, and I got this yoghurt. I'll have that as a pudding after lunch. But next minute I went, where's this strawberry yoghurt? I was convinced I had a strawberry yoghurt in my hand. And anyway, I went back to the fridge. I couldn't look at it. There's no strawberry yoghurts. I've just had a strawberry yoghurt in my hand. I'll have a peach one. I don't know where that. I must have been dreaming. In the evening, I went to make hot chocolate, and I found a strawberry yoghurt next to the hot chocolate in the cupboard. Yes. I did put it in the fridge and eat it next day though. Oh, gut rot. It is what it is. But yeah, you've got to slow down with this kind of stuff, and that can take, you know, it can take time to get into that process. Slowing down, saying no, we don't have to do everything. We don't have to be everywhere. Our children don't have to do everything neither. I remember once I was in Morley. We used to live in Morley, and I was outside the gym, and it was Friday night, and there was a woman. She should have been in her 40s. With two little girls, and they were like, oh mummy, what are we doing this weekend? And she was like, it's piano class tonight, then tomorrow it's tap, then tomorrow afternoon it's grandma's, then Sunday we're going to Scouts. And it was like, I remember looking around thinking, oh, when are you going to sit down? When are they going to rest? So when we slow down and rest, we teach them, our children, to slow down and rest. Which is where there could be, you know, there's all this big thing about ADHD at the minute and all of that comes up. Because rest is important. When the body heals when it's resting. Which is why when you're poorly, you fall asleep, you can't work. But now within this society, we work through the cold. When you've got a cold, ring in sick. Never push yourself. You get a cold, ring in sick. Let your body rest. Do you remember James Herriot in, what was it called? All Creatures Great and Small. We've channelled him on here, and there's a bit in the last, what's it called? All Creatures Great and Small. I've just said it. Where it's a sheep that's ill, and they try everything and they can't heal it, and somehow this sheep falls asleep, and it heals itself. And James realises that it just needs to sleep. The sleep heals you. Rest heals you. Just giving yourself sort of 5 minutes, said 10 minutes, 15 minutes to just rest, to process. Because the day needs to be processed. Throughout the day we need to process. We need to check in with ourselves. And that may sound like mamby-pamby, but we really do. Having breaks is important. Having a break, I mean, because I'm self-employed, I mean, say I did this video after a 30-minute lunch, but I didn't skip lunch. Usually I'd take an hour, but today I did 30 minutes, but when I finish, I'll be finishing earlier. Do you know what I mean? So, rest, breaks, working, if you've got a partner, whether that partner lives with you or whether you've got a partner that doesn't live with you, you know, showing your boundaries. That there's going to be times that you need a day to, not a day to, well, yeah, a day a day to yourself. Sometimes you may need to go off as a woman and go shopping, or go off and do a run with a friend in a park, or do a craft club, or do church, or whatever you need to do to bring you some peace. Interesting. I've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed how it's gone off into different areas, and again, I think there's so much more we can talk about on this subject, because it's such a vast subject. So the basics that we're just taking from this video is slowing down, pause, self-care, coming back to simplicity, coming back to family, looking at what the structures and systems in your family are putting the pressures on you. What work pressure have you got? What school pressure have you got? What can you do to say no? Ooh, soul retrieval as well. I was shuffling and landed on soul retrieval. Oh, and many paths, exhaustion. Many paths, pushing ourselves. You know what soul retrieval is? Throughout our lives, we lose fragments of our soul when we're traumatized, when we're stressed. So when you have a healing session, shamanic healing session, we call back in the soul fragments and place them back into the body. Fragmentation in 40s, and that's why there's such a... and this is going to be controversial, what I'm hearing is, if women had learned how to slow down and really look after themselves, they can make perimenopause and menopause much easier than those that are caffeined up. Do you know, I found out the other day, pure by accident, that gluten affects the hormones. And since I've gone gluten-free, the symptoms I was having have gone, oomph. It's freaked me out. I went gluten-free, not about hormones, just went gluten-free. And I think it was Mel Robbins that was talking about it, and I was like, what? That gluten plays havoc with your hormones. And because I've reduced gluten, I've stopped gluten altogether in my diet, from actually having some quite dark thoughts after turning 40, to actually I'm quite enjoying this 40 malarkey. Just by knocking gluten out, being careful of caffeine, being careful of alcohol. Alcohol and hormones do not mix. Alcohol and perimenopause and menopause. Not saying don't have it. I have the odd glass now for celebrations. But drinking every night or every weekend and blasting it is going to really cause issues with the hormones and the body. Exercise, diet, mindfulness, rest. Beauty way. Ooh, I've got 2 cards here. The circle. Looking at your circle as well, because many of you have I was going to say heavy relationships, and it came out as contamination. Many of you have contamination in your friendship circles, where your friendship circles are not happy places. So there's this issue of having to walk away from friendship circles that are really toxic or contaminated, to find the beauty way. The hunter. To be able to dive into the hidden depths of you. Because it's a precious decade. It's a really precious decade. We get a choice. We can use a decade to be erratic, to be drinking heavily, to be struggling really violently with the hormones in some cases, to be having affairs, flipping out, screaming, crying, antidepressants, all of that. Hating it, pumping his lips full of stuff, pumping his foreheads full of stuff, trying to fight the clock. Or there's this whole other energy that wants to come in that's much more wholesome and loving and giving and accepting. But it can't just come in uninvited. We have to make the changes to invite it in. It's like anything. The blade, the double-edged sword. How sharp does it have to get before we realise? And the heart of the sky. Remembering who we are at soul level as well. Energetic beings, energetic manifestors. The Andean cross as well. Simplicity. Not sacrificing yourself. Final messages from this deck. So final messages from the Lemurian. Ooh, interesting. Heart of Ascension. Expansion, love for all, playfulness, release the past. So your 40s is actually a huge part of your ascension process. So it must be done with dignity, respect and humbleness. Because there's something with the 40s that is about helping with the ascension process. If you think about what it does with the hormones, hormones can make you incredibly angry and incredibly dark and incredibly vindictive. So it's a part of your ascension is to heal the 40s. Star children, no veils, psychic different, cosmic inspiration and light. The inner child, also your role in the children of your life. You know, do you want your children to grow up and love you and have time for you and have respect for you? Or do you want them to grow up and hate you and not understand you and feel that you're an enigma or that you're unreachable? And it can always be turned round. It can always be turned round. Blessing, beyond the soul path. Honour all life, exchange of joy without karma or sacrifice. Having children brings in another karmic wheel, which is why some people choose not to, because especially if they've got a lot of karma they need to clear, they'll say, I'm not going to do children, because it just brings in, I mean, look at the whole thing with children. So having to rebalance karma and doing it in a way where you're not getting heavy karma by becoming the erratic mother, or the mother that just can't do it because she's pushed herself way too much. Sovereignty, right to choose, immunity to hooks, boom. It's about coming back to your sovereignty. It's about the right to choose. Not being hooked into shit and toxicity and drama and darkness. Because there's a lot of hooks at the minute, they're everywhere. Syrian emissionaries dream for the new earth, a time for now, for a magical life. So the new earth energies that are coming in, like I said right at the beginning, we're having to do a lot of clearing in our 40s, probably at a lot quicker rate than people that went before us. So we have to do it because of these new earth frequencies that are now flooding the planet. And stepping stones. Take the next step, let go of the old paradigm. What a card to end on. Stepping stones. Take the next step, let go of the old paradigm. Just be you. Just be you. There's a lot of people putting pressure on women, and on the surface it looks like they're helping, but they're actually not. It's actually quite toxic. You're 40 is the new 30, not is it? No, it's not. You're 40. You cannot be beautiful and you are beautiful. But you're not 30. You're not 20. Why would you want to be 30 again? Why would you want to be 20 again? Fall in love with wherever decade you're at. If you're in your 50s, why would you not? Why would you be in your 40s again if you're in your 50s with the gifts that the 50s can bring and the gifts that the 60s can bring? I've enjoyed this video. I think as well at a good point to bring in the next group healing, because I think this is a vital group healing for women in their 40s, women at any age really, is the sacral chakra one I'm going to be doing the 9th and 10th of April. Basically, it's going to be a healing where I'm going to be clearing all energetic debris from intimate relationships, because when we have intimate relations with someone, there is always a transference of energy. And that's one of the things that are causing a multitude of things with women. Gynecological problems, heavy painful periods, toxic relationships, relationship blocks, because all of that old energetic debris from previous partners can be stored there. So this healing is about really cleaning out the sacral chakra, and you can have it whether you're male or female, to then pave the way forward for much more better balanced relationships with ourselves and with others, and intimate relationships. So that's going to be the 9th and 10th of April. It's 2 days, £22 for its distance channeled. There's no courses, groups, links, Zooms. You go about your day as normal, and I will channel the healing with you throughout the 2 days to you, not with you. You're not doing anything. You're just going about your day as normal. Bit of meditation, bit of mindfulness, looking after yourself, being present. There is a video below in the description box and the pinned comment. So you go into the pinned comment at the description box, you scroll down to where it says group healing and the dates, 9th and 10th. And then it says for more information, watch this. If you're totally new to group healings, please watch that before you take part in it. Because anyone that says, "What, I've just joined your group healing, what do I do?" that's not a good place to be in, to actually pay for something that you're not sure what you're doing. And anyone that wants mentoring, I've changed the way we're doing shamanic healing going forward. We're doing shamanic healing in a very, very different way. Shamanic healing is only now going to be offered to in-house people that have had plenty of mentoring, Reiki sessions, and it's more going to be for the end of someone's healing journey rather than given at the beginning, if that makes sense. And I'm doing the shamanic healing, well, future shamanic healings via Zoom, where the client is going to be expected to be more interactive than just laid down at home. Anyway, think about your healing journey, be it therapy, be it whatever you need to do, be it stuff that you can do for yourself, books, things that you can, inspirational people that are going to uplift you. Remember, healing is diet, it's movement, it's exercise, it's fresh air, it's crystals, it's candles, it's showers, it's baths, it's a good book, it's a podcast, it's a trip to the library, it's a walk by a canal. It doesn't have to be expensive. Healing is everywhere at any time. So thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe for more content. If you want to watch any more videos like this, I'm going to put this into the shamanic healing playlist on my channel, Claire Thackeray. You can watch more videos that we've talked about similar things within that playlist. If you want to see the Catherine and Lady Gabriella video I've done, you need to go over to CT's Royal Tarot. Don't let it put you off Royal Tarot. I'm not like, and I'm not saying that from a place of ego. When I do my Royal Tarots, I like to do it in a bit of a different way than that. Although there can sometimes be a bit of that, but then it is what it is. We do like to bring it round to a healing message to make it a little bit more dignified than that. The Carol Middleton one we've just done could be a spot on one for some of you women to watch, about mothers and pushy mothers. And the Catherine one we've just done with Catherine and Gabriella, where we were looking at where they're at on their journey at this time. That can be another good one for you to watch. Thanks for watching. Love to all. Like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.